Hello and good morning. My name is Darius Anucauskas and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is a quick video preview for the webinar, which is going to happen in a few moments, so stick around. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. We're going to talk markets, we're going to see what's happening in the world, what has happened this week, and of course we'll look at the technicals. We'll try to find some interesting setups everywhere. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, stick around. Hopefully you'll enjoy the session, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and good morning. My name is Darius Anucauskas and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the 27th. Yes, it's the last trading day of the week, not to mention the month. So I hope this month so far has been a good one for you. Ladies and gentlemen, look, before we go any further, as always, we will of course look into the markets. We'll see what's happening in this crazy world. But before we go any further, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. I'm just going to put my usual good morning in the chat room. Lately, I have been missing out on this actually. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There we go in the chat room. I keep on saying that this session is meant for live interaction. You know, that's why I'm doing it as a live session. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you are watching this as a recorded session later on, not when it's live, then certainly you can leave your comment below, and then I'll try to get back to you on that comment in the next session. Look, also, just a quick mentioning of our, by the way, actually, can you hear me and see me well? I hope you can, because I can see that there are a little bit of a few interruptions here in the video stream. So hopefully, you know, the sound and the video is coming through okay. But yeah, I hope, like I said, I hope you can hear me and see me well. If you could put it in the chat there, I would really appreciate it. But look, also before we go any further, as I wanted to say before earlier, let's quickly mention our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the economic calendar. So, so far today, what did we get? We got the Tokyo core and headline CPI numbers. There we go. A little bit on the higher side on the headline, however, a little bit lower on the core. Now, the core excludes food and energy. Goods like fresh food as well here, and you can see that the headline did tick up a little bit, mainly because of the elevated oil prices during the month of February. Yes, but in general, yes, the core is a little bit on the lower side here from the prior 2%. However, you know, the forecast was at 1.7, so you know, it's a matter of interpretation. You know, some analysts are going to say, oh, this is okay because we're lower than the previous. You know, the inflation is going down a little bit, but some will say actually, well, we were expecting a lower number, so you know, why did we get, you know, a higher number? So should we worry? Should we, you know, call BOJ for that rate hike or something like that? Look, again, when you get numbers like these, when, you know, when there's a very big or a big-ish spread between the prior and the forecast, and you get the actual number comes out somewhere in between, you get these talks normally, so that's okay. I think at this point here, the hawks are put on the on the alert side, and they're now going to be monitoring what's going to happen, going further. So long story short, for now, look, it's okay. It's 1.8, still within the BOJ's inflation target. Now, in terms of other data, now what's happening here? Foreign bond investments. So we're seeing a little bit of a decline here. Industrial production, that's preliminary. Good, but again, the same problem. When you have a very widespread like this, you're getting basically numbers somewhere in between, and then go figure in a way. Now, what's a little bit more clear here are the retail sales, the year on year. Look at this. The month on month number did rocket nicely from the previous -2% to +4.1. The year on year number jumped also nicely into positive territory. So let's see if going further the Japanese economy can maintain that. Car production UK, look at this, boom to the downside, -8.2. Now this is a bit of a blow, because again, the problem is that UK doesn't really produce much in a way. I mean, it does produce some things for the oil industry. Cars is a major segment of the manufacturing and production, of the British economy. So, and when you see a drop like this, then yeah, certainly it's a little bit worrying, because given the fact also that you have been in the negative territory for some time, then there was a little bit of a breath of fresh air. You resurfaced above zero, and then boom, back down. Okay, seasonality could be played out here. Let me just launch the chart. Let me show you what I'm. Yeah, okay, just a second. Let me just do this. That's why it's yeah. Okay. Let me just relaunch the chart. Now it's going to be better. Yeah, so there we go. 2025, for example, what was it? March time. We were also on the lower side. So 2024 March time, also a little bit on the lower side here. But then it kind of recovered. But then it was a very big drop before that. So now, it's it's we don't have the number here updated. The chart is not updated for some reason. So basically, we're going to see a lower number here. Anyway, for now, let's say what I want to say. For now, it's an interesting, like I said, in general, the trajectory, you can see that it's shifting towards the downside and lower and lower and lower, right? I mean, it has been, elevated here, but now look at this. I mean, well, what can I say? I mean, in general, the car makers in Europe are not going through the best times right now, due to, increased competition from China. And certainly, there are two ends, on this stick. In a way, on one hand, you can say the Chinese are very competitive, and they're beating maybe in price. On the other hand, like, the question is, like, why are they beating you? I mean, you used to be producing great vehicles, and before, like, Chinese were not producing very good vehicles, but now they're producing, and maybe that's why they're also competitive, not only on the price side, but also on the kind of quality is debatable, but for what you need, it kind of does the trick. So that's the thing. That's where, like I said, the European market is becoming less competitive. And look, just lately, we're seeing some issues with the vehicles in general, the top brands, So, and in terms of also like the appealing, the way it looks, of course, it's a matter of taste, don't get me wrong, but we have to admit that maybe I'll sound old school or something, but the cars that were in the 2000s, and those looked a little bit more attractive, than what we're seeing nowadays. Again, it's a matter of taste, but that's my opinion. So that's where, like, also the competition happens, because let's face it, the Chinese vehicles, they used to look terrible. Now they look really good. They're really looking good cars. And even if you're just gonna go by the looks, ignoring the technical part, then you're getting yourself something like a nice decent looking car, and yeah, it's like I said, it's an interesting world that we're going through right now. So, and I think that this is not the end unless the regulator is going to kick in, and that's how you're going to slow it down. But again, you cannot really slow it down, because if you cannot offer something better, then how can you regulate it too much? Anyway, this is, like I said, again, a big debate, something for that we will leave for the politicians to shout about. Anyway, so going back to the calendar, in terms of economic data, look, GDP, Switzerland GDP growth rate came out plus 0.8. Okay, decent. Okay, that's fine. That's the year on year. Q on Q also came out nice. That's fine as well. So the Swiss economy is kind of doing okay-ish. Maybe not spectacular, but at least not not in a big problem. German unemployment numbers are coming out, so keep your eyes on that. 6.3. That's what we're looking at. If we do have a tick up here, well, I think that this is where it's not maybe like a major shift, like if we come out at 6.4, for example, but certainly something for everybody to start worrying, because the 6.3 has been holding for a very long time, honestly. Like it has been sitting here like what, like look at this, 6.3 since March of last year. For almost a year, unemployment number did not change. I don't know. When I'm seeing something like this, I'm somehow losing faith in the quality of the data, and that's where my problem here is. Anyway, let's see what's going to happen. Maybe this is going to be a surprise moment. Going further today, we're going to get the German harmonized inflation rate, the preliminary figure, so keep your eyes on that. But then jumping into the US session, or an hour before the US opening bell, we're going to get the PPI figures from the US. And this is something that the market is watching very carefully. The month-on-month PPI headline is expected to come out a little bit on the lower side. The core PPI year on year, for example, is expected to come out on the lower side. In general, everything seems to be with the expectation on the lower side. Again, when you have a spread, quite a decent, wide spread here between the previous and the forecast, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out somewhere in the middle here between 2.6 and 3. So let's say if it comes out at 2.8, I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, but again, that's me trying to shoot for the stars here and try to predict, putting out my tarot cards. Yeah, look, long story short, for now, keep your eyes on the inflation number here, the producer price index here, so what it costs the producers. And I think this is going to be quite an important number, in my opinion. I think this is something that the market has been waiting for. And let's see, because we're kind of getting into this, almost a year of tariffs, when the whole tariff saga started. It started in April with a big board next to the head of the U.S. leader, and which then kind of got amended several times. Honestly, like this was a in general. So yeah, and we know that the producers have been taking the hit a little bit. Maybe they were getting some tax benefits somewhere, but yeah, they were getting a little bit hit, and now the question is, can they sustain those higher prices in general? So we'll see what's going to happen here in general. Anyway, and Canada as well. Canada GDP growth rate. Yep, something that we're keeping a close eye on here. We have the growth rate here sitting at 2%. The previous one was at 2.6. Now the forecast is for 0. Oof, a little bit of a problem here, but again, maybe the number will come out somewhere in between. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so in terms of this week, we had a lot of We had a lot of different other data sets, maybe not the most important ones. China came out on Tuesday with their loan prime rate, which they kept the same. So that all is good. It seems to be like that. We had a few speeches of some Fed officials. Then we had some. Then Wednesday was, we had some inflation numbers from Australia. The State of the Union speech, of course, something that we all watched and didn't watch. But I think highlights were enough. And then, yeah, Thursday, yesterday, we got some consumer confidence number from Eurozone, minus 12.2, so a little bit on the better side. Again, if we can say that. Initial and continuous jobless claims, initial claims dropped a little bit here, so dropped from the forecast. Still higher against the previous. So yeah. Oh, by the way, today we got the where's that consumer confidence number from UK. This is the problem. Yeah, this is what I wanted to mention, and I think I forgot to mention that minus 19 against the minus 16. So in general, not looking good. I mean, this is just getting worse and worse. So people are not very happy in UK. However, yeah, it's a debatable thing. Again, what are you not happy about? So, not that I'm defending that, saying that everything is fine. No, for sure not. But again, sometimes people who have less, they're more happy. But again, it's a debatable thing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into the charts. I think yeah, it's time. Look, Nikkei 225. From the technical side, continues to look strong. In general, Asia is outperforming everything. Honestly, it's just looking quite spectacular. I will jump into KOSPI in a bit because that one's on everybody's tongue right now. KOSPI is the South Korean one, but Nikkei is also. I mean, look at this. Nikkei is doing like at least 10% this month, and closed with a 10% this month. I mean, this is spectacular. This is like parabolic, and at one point, what comes up must come down for sure. We cannot argue with that. But the question for now is like, are we actually going to hit that 60,000 zone? Because it is way too attractive. And judging from the fact that we broke the upper side of this little kind of range I talked about previously in one of my sessions. Where's that? Let me just jump into YouTube very quickly. In one of my sessions here in the live videos, I talked about this, and this is a few days ago that I released this video. That was on Wednesday. You can check it out. Basically, I talked about this idea, and I said that, look, if we do get that clearance of this barrier here, and we did get that clearance, the week before I was talking about this little range here as well. So I said if we do get that clearance of this 58,000 zone, then it kind of opens the door towards higher levels, and we could see that push towards the psychological 60,000 zone. And we got the retest of the broken barrier here. We tested it from above. So now the question is. Like, can we go towards that 60,000? For sure, I will say it this way. Of course, nothing is sure, but from my what I'm going to say for sure, what I'm going to say is that if we do remain above this 58,000 zone, I will remain a little bit more positive, with the upside scenario. So, but if we start falling below the 58,000, okay, then that's my downside scenario working out here. But probably better this way. But for now, looking at this picture, certainly it's a little bit more positive than negative. Actually, KOSPI, there we go. Today, KOSPI is in negative territory. It closed with a minus 1%, so which is a little bit, yeah, it's an interesting one. But anyway, look at this move. Look at the move, the major move here. I mean, this month, look at this, almost 20%, almost 20% closure. I mean, wow, it's it is gold. It is basically gold. And to like when we were back here, we were back here testing this high, the all-time high, near the 3,313, and that was back in, and that was the highest point of 2021. Then we started testing it in 2025 July. September time, we overshot that, and look at this, just up all the way north, and we just kind of almost doubled. It's almost a 100% move. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. I mean, I think a little bit overdoing it. And whenever you see something like this, you start asking questions, certainly great. You can say that, hey, but yes, technological stocks are driving the way and everything. But let me just I want to check something very quickly. And if I'm gonna find this figure, let me just one moment, because again, this is yeah, unemployment rate. This is something that I want to look at. So unemployment has been on the low side for some time now, for South Korea. However, it started picking up pace. In December it was at 3.3. Yes, still low, but comparison to like 2.5 in September, for example, then yeah, that's a significant up move. That said, the number itself is not crazy, but it's something to kind of worry a little bit, in my opinion, because GDP growth, now that's something that is in the negative territory. The latest number that came out is in negative territory. The two readings before that were in positive, but then before that it was in negative again. So way too many negative numbers coming out, in my opinion, or have been negative quarters coming out. So but then you're still rallying. So okay, Samsung managed to get into that trillion rate. Just a second, let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, there we go. Where is it? Where's that Samsung? Where is that Samsung? Is this gonna be is this just gonna be US or something? Rankings by country, global rankings. Largest companies by market cap. Samsung, there we go. 12th position. There we go. 1 trillion. Crossed the 1 trillion mark. So basically, it got into the big boy league, and overshooting like Visa, Exxon, JP Morgan, these guys, who are big in a way, but certainly, yes, Samsung is the one to be watched. Let me just check the Samsung stock here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this shot here. I mean, it is unstoppable. This is a monthly chart, by the way, not a daily even. Look at this. We were just back in October or September, we were just kind of below $100. Boom, straight away. It's more than 100% increase. The question is now, is this going to reverse back down or not? At some point it will have to, don't get me wrong, but certainly at the moment everything is way too positive about this. But it will have to fall at some point. Don't get me wrong. And we were talking about gold. It was also on the up and away moment, but then it kind of sold off very quickly because some profits have to be taken. Anyway, look. Long story short, for now, I will keep an eye on this, of course. KOSPI, certainly, this is very interesting, but be careful. If you're long, then well, be careful. Have a good stop loss. Shanghai Composite, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. From the technical side, I said that if we do break this downside line, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the upside. There we go. We got the move. We got the breakout here. And my next target is the 4,190 zone. And then we'll just take it from there. Ladies and gentlemen, Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, of course, the big news this week for everybody was NVIDIA. And today, Netflix, honestly, is just spectacular to watch this because this is just blowing my mind. I'm talking about Netflix, but I'll pick up on that in a bit. Look, first of all, let me just go through quickly through the technicals here on the Dow. What I talked about previously, I said that if we do stay below this downside line, I will consider another move lower. If we start breaking the downside line, great. Certainly, it opens the door to some higher some higher levels, but then of course the 49,621 needs to be overshot, and then we'll just kind of go from there. By the way, KAI Evitre, or I'm sorry, I mean maybe I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. K Vitre. Hi, first of all, thank you very much for your comment. Really appreciate that. Thank you. At least I know that I'm not alone here. Looks like a potential short. You were, because there is a delay in in these comments that they come through to on my side here. Let me know what are you referring to? Are you referring to KOSPI or or Samsung or what? I'm assuming that you're referring to those, but just again, let me know. This is, like I said, this is the problem sometimes with the streaming service, that there is a delay in the comments again. Yeah, so maybe I've moved on, from something, and then kind of, the comment came through, and then like, oh, like, which one are you referring to? So yeah, let me know in the comments below that, which specific instrument you're talking about. Like, it looks like a potential short. I'll pick up on that again. Yeah, Dow Jones Industrial Average looks somewhat positive, to be honest, but again, I said that for me the confirmation break is required. Let me just double check something. 3 minutes back. 3 minutes back, yes, but like, which instrument? KOSPI or Samsung? Which one? Because this is the one this is KOSPI. This is the South Korea Stock Exchange, and the Samsung was this one right here. So you're referring to this? If yes, let me know. Because maybe you're referring to, the Shanghai Composite or something. Dow too? Okay. So yeah, like I said, if you're referring to these Shanghai, the KOSPI and Samsung, then certainly, of course, from the trader's perspective, this does look like a potential, short and everything, because you're way overstretched. Probably your RSIs are hitting the actually, what are they? What I'm seeing here? MACD and RSI. There we go. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, the RSI here on the upside. MACD. Oh, by the way, MACD. MACD is still on the Samsung, still not showing me the reversal signal. So potentially there could be some more upside. And again, the RSI not there yet. So let's see. Unless we get a very sharp sell-off, which will bring the indicators, lower. But if we're talking about kind of normal standard practice, then yes, then then we are saying that there is still potential for some upside on this one, on the KOSPI and sorry, on the Samsung, on the KOSPI, similar story actually. So just if you don't have KOSPI, you can follow Samsung, like in the, you're not going to be wrong there. Anyway, going back to Dow, the U.S. market. So, look, Dow, you're saying short on Dow. Okay, I wouldn't mind that. I would say I'm not going to argue with you here. However, my problem is that there is still room for some more upside. Look at this. I mean, we're getting a hold up here near this 49,620 territory. However, the cash index right now is trading at around 49,000, kind of almost 300. So basically, a little bit below kind of the close. But it's not far. It's still okay here. Somebody might say, oh, but Darius, maybe this is a doji. Ooh, I'll say, ooh, maybe that is a doji, and does look like one, almost. But are we going to get a reversal from here? Look, for me to start getting maybe excited with some downside at this point, I would probably prefer to wait maybe for a drop somewhere below this little territory here, the 49,200. We're not far. Don't get me wrong, the cash index, we're not far right now, but we're kind of around here somewhere. But let's see if we can drop back below this hurdle. If we can, I'm gonna go lower. Jumping into the S&P 500, yes, this one kind of made its way higher. I talked about this a lot. I said that if we do push above the 6,870 territory, then yep, and then I'm gonna go further north. We did push higher. We did push above the 20-day SMA in my Bollinger Bands. But again, it's it's a tricky moment right now here on the S&P 500. Look, we're in the box here, we're in the range, and we're currently shifting higher within the range. But yeah, it's where's that? 500. Yeah, but we need a confirmation break. We need an exit outside of this box before I can get a little bit comfortable with, let's say, more of a medium-term directional move. The cash index right now is a little bit on the lower side, don't get me wrong, it's somewhere around kind of here, but it's still okay. It's still somewhat positive. If we do fall, actually, okay, this level here no longer needed. For me right now, if we do fall back below the 6,859, I will go a little bit more to the downside within the range here. By the way, Kaivitre, apologies, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly or not. Kaivitre, interesting. Let me know what you're trading at the moment, if you're trading anything, or or maybe you're investing or something like that. So, but specifically, like do you have an instrument in mind, or you just let me know. And in general, not only the user here, the participant Kaivitre here, also whoever's watching this right now, let me know in the comments what you're trading. I'll try to maybe pick up on that a little bit, or put a little bit more emphasis, because I'm picking up actually on a lot of instruments right now. Nasdaq very quickly drifted lower yesterday. Yes, it was a bit of a bloodbath here on Nasdaq. Dow was okay, remained flat, but Nasdaq was just like, yeah, it's somebody kind of popped that drain and it started just flushing here very quickly. We understand why, because NVDA and look, good results, good everything, but as always, investors were not happy. I will say it this way: it always happens with NVIDIA, at least for now. Lately, has been happening. Whenever you get like good results here, you get good, fantastic results. The next day, it flushes. The same story happened here. Back here, good results, and on the day, the next day, it flushes. Here, good results, next day, flush to the downside. Back here, again, similar story. So it kind of does the same thing over and over. Is it a bad company? No. Is it overvalued? Again, it depends. It's a big debate here. A lot of people see potential for it, and a lot of people, say that, where are you gonna grow more? Like, where are you gonna grow? Do you have the market in general? Do you have like what? You're gonna go to space or something? That's why I think that they're very into this whole AI. You need to you need to change the industry so that everybody would be like connected somehow, and this way you will have immortality in a way. All right, but look, I think that some companies do eventually become mortal. And big tech giants become mortal. So we need to accept that. We need to understand that. So you need to be very careful. Look, I'm not calling for a short on NVIDIA or something. No, it's everybody's decision, but certainly I do understand, like I said, we could still see some upside. Don't get me wrong. I mean, going higher, yes, and potentially I think it's quite doable. But a little bit of retracement back down could be possible. In general, I think NVIDIA is just kind of forming something of a range right now. So maybe we could end up traveling all the way back to 170 territory again. So maybe this would be the optimal point where investors could, jump in again. Let's see. But certainly what I really wanted to pick up on here is It's this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Netflix. Yep, Netflix. Look at the stock right now. Pre-market, the pre-market open. The stock is right now at it closed at 84. It's now at 94 with a little bit. And honestly, like you were bidding for Warner Brothers, right? You were bidding for these guys, and you've just to kind of give you a little bit of a timeline, right? Warner Bros comes out saying that they're expecting this how to say it, they're planning to be sold. They're looking for options of looking for investors. Okay, that comes out like in October. Then you have Netflix in December coming out saying, hell yeah, let's jump in, right? I mean, and they go in with a crazy offer, yeah, it's just like I said, it's just explodes, and Warner Bros. Explodes because they come out with 27.75 per share offer, then everybody starts panicking in a way because Netflix could become way too big, and in general, Warner Bros. Is a very it's a historic company, right? I mean, it's just like having it in your portfolio probably would be seen as like you've made it in life or something like that. They do have like good shows and everything, and everybody knows these shows. So you have this moment where Warner Bros. Is becoming quite attractive for everybody. The company it has the problems, difficulties, but I think it's fine. You have these issues. Sometimes your spark drops, it falls, it diminishes, it fades. Your spark fades. There we go. That's the word. You need some new, fresh ideas, new, fresh maybe cash injections and stuff like that. So, and the product is good, but maybe the execution was not really good. So that's where Netflix and then Paramount comes in. Now the problem with Paramount and both come in December. Netflix first. Netflix has a great offer. Paramount is struggling to kind of offer something better, but it's called. But they're going for a hostile bid. It's like they're really eager to to get the Warner Bros. Then in January, Netflix kind of goes in with a better deal, and just it's all cash basically. So it's like difficult to overshoot. But then, basically the problem here is with Paramount. Paramount is that it's way too political because you have Jared Kushner involved in here. You have Mr. Ellison also involved. We know that the figures are very controversial, and again, it's really like it all sounds very immoral. But the most immoral thing, what in all this situation is that yesterday, not to mention all the scrutiny that the CEO of Netflix was going through. He was like, had to do the what's the word for that? Like, he was invited to ask some questions, and they kind of totally try to tear him apart. Some politicians, that's the usual kind of process that you go through, and I totally forgot the word for that. Anyway, but anyway, so and then basically. Yesterday, everything is fine up until yesterday. Yesterday the CEO goes into the White House because he was invited for a little bit of a chit chat, and he gets invited into the White House, and then basically after that he comes out, says, "I'm not doing any press statements or questions," and then they basically announce that they're out of the bid. I'm sorry, are we all just blind? But anyway, this is, like I said, this is very, very interesting, and it's just wow. So long story short, if you're thinking that there's no corruption or no something, well, yeah, think again. But it's honestly it's way straightforward. Just like, you're very excited to buy the company. You stand, you go through the whole scrutiny of politicians. They attack you, and you're still standing strong. But then you actually go into the White House, and an hour later you come back saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm out." What was offered to you? What were you threatened, or was something offered to you better? We'll never find out. The only official statement is that it's not good for our books, for our financials. Okay, so why did you go for the old cash initially? So what, you had a revision suddenly, a light came into your head or something? I really don't believe this. So that's why this is very, very dumb. That's the word for it. Anyway, we're watching this show, of course. We're where is it? Paramount. Paramount. Skydance. There we go. There we go. Look at this. The stock has risen. It was at the bottom, then it rose to 12.94. It basically it hits hitting here. Look at this jump here. It's a big jump here for like 15% jump on this one on pre-market. That's pre-market, of course. We'll see how it opens up, but for Netflix is also a big jump here. Where's that pre-market here? So is it where is that? Just a second. No, wait, where's that pre-market? Honestly, come on. Why is my trading view not showing this? After hours? No, it's not here, but it should be. Maybe it's gonna be later. It's gonna be in a. Okay, wait. Look, I'll try to see. I'll keep it until the end. I think in about 18 minutes, that's when it's gonna come out. Yeah, I think that's when it's going to come out, the pre-market figures. So ignore this, because this is I was looking at the wrong number here. But anyway, let's see, because there will be a jump. I know that there is a jump. Actually, let me just quickly try to find another source here, and I think I know where to look. Let me just find here. So Netflix. Come on, Netflix. Yep, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Where is that? NFLX. So we are currently at 92, not 94 here. From here, we jumped all the way to here right now. So around 8%, like almost 9% jump. We did at one point jump to 95.5. Okay, so basically this is quite correct. So, and PSKY, there we go, Paramount Skydance. Let me just find that one. This one had jumped 11.16. I don't have the pre-market numbers. I have for Netflix. I don't have the Paramount Skydance. Okay, I think this one's going to be on the higher side as well here. Anyway, if you're trading stocks, keep an eye on this one. But in general, like I said, I will repeat myself. This is very, very weird. Well, actually, the word weird is probably a very naive word to use, but we understand what's happening here. I think that these guys were asked nicely to drop the bid, because it's all about control. It's all about media control, to control the public and everything. So that's understandable, because Paramount is more favorable, to the current U.S. administration. So there we go. I don't know. It's what, are we like stupid and we should not understand this or something? It's a very, like I said, it's a very interesting world that we're going through. So certain countries are getting blamed for doing exactly this, whereas when you're doing it, that's fine. Anyway, so let's go back into indices very quickly. I want to finish off because I think This topic is taking way too much time. Look, I'll try to go quickly. German index, there we go, pushing higher. We're testing this 25,331 territory. Let's see if we can clear that. The next target is going to be the 25,507. Let's see if we can test the current all-time high. We're currently breaking this barrier. Let's see if we can stay above it. Now the FTSE, okay, honestly, the FTSE is just out of this world and it continues to push higher. Let me just remove all the drawings here. I don't know, like 11,000, is that what we're aiming for? It would be nice, to be honest. I'm already in that field where it would be nice, the 11,000 zone. Let's see if we can reach that. Because I think that symbolism is taking over here, but looking at the monthly chart here, look at this. It is just spectacular. It is, like I said, we're seeing something like gold. And the stock market is just rallying like crazy here. Europe is doing fantastic. Look at this. Look at France here as well, pushing higher. Not creating an all-time high, but that was kind of yesterday's job. But now, yeah, it's just pushing to the north. DXY, ladies and gentlemen, DXY, the dollar index. So still getting into a bit of a squeeze here. I mean, we're forming something of an ascending triangle pattern. But again, I said to you previously, 98 barrier is something that I need to see a break off in order to go to the upside. For the downside, a drop below the 97.35 could be an interesting option. Very quickly on VIX, this one popped yesterday initially, but then started selling off when the market just kind of started pushing higher again. I think that there is a moment for VIX that it will fade away a little bit, but let's see if, you know, again, we're on an upside trend line here, which you probably don't have to draw this, but it's an interesting thing here to watch. Anyway, jumping into the Forex world, ladies and gentlemen, looking quite positive here. The US dollar is weakening, so it's helping other currencies to rally here a little bit more. But what can I say? For now, everything's looking quite positive. My next target is the 0.7147. That's the current highest point of this year. If we clear that, yes, I'm going to go further north. But at the moment, the fact that we're still trading above this downside line, the broken downside line, then that's kind of a good thing. My favorite AUDNZD, look at this. We are holding nicely this 50%, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. 1.1895. I've talked about this from the beginning of this week, and I said that this is going to be my target. Last week, actually, I mentioned this as well. I'm going to aim for this one. And what this level is, for this, you need to jump into a monthly chart. Look at this. From the highest point of 2011 to the lowest point of 2020, this big drop that we saw in a matter of kind of 9 years-ish. So we are now in recovery mode, and we have recovered 50% of this whole big move. So now the question is, can we get a little bit of a hold up here? And given the fact that we had a strong move higher, can we see a little bit of a decline? Because it's a strong area of resistance. Can we get that little move to the downside here, a little bit of a, you know, a breather for the bears, and then the bulls can regroup and then push higher again if they wish. But look, long story short, for now I'm watching this very carefully, and honestly, it looks very, very positive here. Let me just grab this arrow here a little bit. It looks very positive for the bulls, of course. You know, if we do clear the 50%. However, the bears will take advantage of the higher rate if we stall here near this 50%. So keep your eyes on this one. Like I said, very interesting developments here on one of my favorite pairs. So let's see what's going to happen next. AUDJPY, of course, the stock market is. I'm going to stay on the monthly. I think it's better just to kind of recap the whole month here. Look at this. So far, we have not had a negative month for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th month in positive, so we have not seen a negative month. At some point, this will have to reverse. I don't know when. My problem is that it's way too overstretched here, maybe. You know, not even the RSI. Well, actually, on the RSI side, on the monthly side here, it's still looking quite positive. On the daily, Yeah, the weekly probably the more interesting option here to watch. So I think for this pair, the weekly chart is the more interesting. So let's see what's going to happen here if we can get that a little reversal. Let's jump into Euro USD. So we are seeing a little bit of a pop here today. We saw a little bit of a pop. Look at this. Initially, this is a 5-minute chart. We saw the pop. French inflation came out on the higher side. We had this major move higher, but then everybody realized that, you know what, maybe it's not, doesn't matter. It's still okay, still manageable. So long story short, I talked about this idea of a descending triangle pattern, where we kind of we were testing this area on the downside. Initially I had this level here near the 1.1776, but I think I need to drop it here to 1.1765. I think this is a little bit more reasonable. So yeah, unfortunately, we have to do these adjustments all the time because, again, the market changes and we have to change with the market. Look, for now, long story short, for now, I am watching the upside. However, I can see that on my daily chart, the 20-day SMA within my Bollinger Band is providing strong resistance. If we can clear this, I'll go higher. If we don't, if we continue to struggle despite the break of this downside line, I'll consider a move lower. But my preferred scenario to the downside will be on a break below the 1.1765 actually. EUROJPY, this one is kind of not very interesting. I think the Euro CHF is more interesting actually. I'm watching this falling channel, and yesterday we had a great run to the upside. It seems like we're gonna stick, one of my favorite patterns is when we have a strong decline and then a gradual decline, we tend to break to the upside. We did break, but we failed to stay. So now I'm kind of getting worried, is this going to actually proceed further, or actually we had our moment here and enough is enough, the bears are going to take control. So we're very close to this kind of area, and I don't know, I want to see what's going to happen here. Are we actually going to break this, or it's the last day of the month, so it should determine something here. So keep your eyes on this if you like to trade this pair. Very quickly on GBPUSD, okay, we're still in the falling channel, so there is a chance for this one to drift lower. So again, keep your eyes on the Euro USD as well, but certainly if we do fall below the 100-day EMA here, shown as the blue line, then yeah, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the downside. At the moment, I am I'm cautiously bearish, let's put it this way. Let's jump into USDCAD very quickly. Yep, everything's fine. Everything is in line with what I was talking about. Look, I said to you that I'm not very strong on the US dollar. The Canadian dollar, yes, it's not also the strongest one, but with the Canadian dollar, it's the oil. It's oil prices right now, which I'll pick up in a bit. Oil prices right now, because of geopolitical tensions, where I'm going to attack you, I'm not going to attack you, I'm going to attack you, I'm not going to attack you. So yeah, and still that drives fear, despite OPEC plus productions. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. For now, if we do see an escalation in if the U.S. does go for that unlawful kind of attack in a way, because again, once again, we're at this point, you're okay to invade another sovereign country, but somebody else is not okay to do it. Double standards, these hypocrisy moments, and honestly, it's just taking my brains out. The world is really, yeah. Anyway, but look, for long story short, for now, this is, like I said, this is quite interesting from the technical side. We're holding below the upper side of the symmetrical triangle pattern. In general, I would say normally that such patterns tend to break to the downside because the prevailing trend is to the downside here. If it would have been the opposite, then I would say the upside scenario is more probable. But at this point, there is actually a good chance for this one to actually move lower, also supported by geopolitics. USDJPY. Okay, this one's looking. Look, I think that it could be a moment here that from the two weaker currencies, Japanese yen is still on the weaker side, unless the sentiment in the stock market changes and we see major sell-offs in the stock market. Then yes, everybody will jump into Japanese yen. But yeah, hey, maybe that's what the BOJ is waiting for. It's just like a natural strengthening of their currency instead of like going and intervening. USDCHF, we're stuck in a nice, beautiful symmetrical triangle pattern here as well. Again, the prevailing trend is to the downside before entering this triangle pattern, so a greater chance for this one to break out is to the downside. However, I've seen this happening in the opposite direction, so just waiting for a clearance of one of the sides of the triangle before considering the next short-term directional move. Ladies and gentlemen, commodities, very quickly. I think I'm going to overextend this webinar over an hour, but because there's a lot to talk about, and actually this is the last session for this month, so in this week, so yeah, stick around, ladies and gentlemen. We still have commodities and cryptos to go through. Okay, look, gold is oof. Okay, in general, overall, everybody's very positive on gold. Okay, everybody's still like saying, oh, this is the best safe haven and blah blah blah. It is, right? I mean, we can see everybody's piling up on big boys are piling up on gold and buying ETFs, gold and silver ETFs. But okay, I have so many thoughts in my head, honestly. Probably some sort of like ADHD problems or something. But look, what I want to say here is that, first of all, if we're going purely from the technical side, we had a major rally, we had a creation of an all-time high, then we sell off like crazy, and then we start recovery mode. But the recovery mode is not a rapid one, it's actually a gradual one. So this actually forces me to see that maybe we're forming something of a flag here, a bearish flag formation. This is a pole, this is like the formation. At the same time, it's like a rising veg, which again, the two patterns which confirm like the downside scenario, these are more likely to the downside. So again, this is, like I said, don't be surprised that if we see a breakout lower here at some point. And another thing here is that this little formation, the bearish 3 method, you can check it out online. Basically, like when you have a major drop and then the next gradual 3 candles and their bodies are within the body of the first candle here, the big decliner, then that's where the 5th candle goes in and just kind of booms to the downside. And another thing is that the next Monday is going to be the first day of the new month, so we normally have some sort of like crazy stuff happening as well in these symbolic days. It's a Monday, it's the start of a new week, it's the start of a new month. Let's sell it off, something like that. So I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that we're judging from the past activity and we're trying to see what could happen next. So for now, I have 3 kind of little short-term patterns here in favor of the downside scenario. So one's being the bearish flag idea, the other is the rising veg formation, and then on a very, very short term frame here, the bearish 3 method. So again, I don't want to say that this is what's going to happen. No, because the opposite could very much happen if we do overshoot the 5,250 territory. If we do overshoot that, hey, great, we're going to go higher. But certainly be careful, be cautious. Another problem, like I said, is just like it's struggling to go all the way back to the all-time highs. Look, if it wants to go, it can go, right? We saw this already. We saw these major rallies. So if it wants to go higher, it will always find a reason how to go higher and stuff like that. But now it's stalling, and this is where the issue is. Anyway, silver. Silver is, okay, with silver, it's currently in a recovery mode, and I think that there is a chance still to receive maybe a recovery towards the 50% here on the Fibonacci retracement, which is drawn from the all-time high to the current lowest point of this year. This year, the current lowest point of this year. So we're in this kind of recovery mode right now. 50% looks quite nice, doable. Let's see if we can reach that 92 kind of 0.20 zone ish, approximately around here, or maybe even actually 92.87. Yeah, I think that's a little bit more. That's the 50%. Let's see. But again, if you're not really comfortable with this idea, then watch out for this 86 zone. If we do fall below the 86 territory, I think there is a chance for a move further south. Gold and silver ratio. Now, this is something that I like to look at. For now, and actually, I'm still leaning a little bit more towards the downside on this one. I think that gold could drop in value against silver. And actually, this would work out perfectly if we're not expecting much activity on gold, let's say, but we are expecting a little bit more uprise in silver, then this is kind of aligning perfectly with the gold-silver ratio here to the downside a little bit. So yeah, and then we'll take from there. Platinum. Now, platinum, I am watching the monthly chart. I'm loving this hurdle here, this 2,300. We're currently above it, but as I said to you before, this is quite a historic level. This is the level where, from where the crisis, the subprime crisis kind of started in a way, and not attributing this one to the crisis, but in general, or the reason of the crisis, no, but in general. But this is, like I said, this is a very strong area of resistance. We did overshoot that two times already. Is this going to be the third time? Yes, we overshot it, but are we going to stay below it? And look at this. This is these are monthly charts. And are we going to stay below the 2,300? Let's watch. Let's watch this one, because again, this is quite spectacular. Platinum, another one of my favorite metals here. I'm loving this action here as well, pushing to the upside. But look, if we go purely from the technical side, we had two strong runs, but then this month we're struggling actually to go for a new high here, and we're just even actually struggling to hit the December high. So to me, this doesn't look very strong. Again, I might be wrong. You let me know in the comments if I'm wrong or not, or right. But or do you agree with me, or maybe you don't agree with me? Overall, as the investment product, I do believe it could go higher. However, from the very short-term perspective, it's kind of really weird that we're struggling to overshoot some highs here. Look, even let's say when we were back here, back in October time, then the next month, November, was like a little bit of a bummer here, but then December comes and like boom, there we go. And now we're like we had these strong moves to the upside, and now we're in February, we're struggling to over. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Be careful, be cautious, and like I said, it's. Don't be surprised if we suddenly reverse lower. Copper, this one's okay. I don't have many strong feelings about copper, but this one's actually showing me that we're reversing already a little bit. Let's see if this can be sustained. Very quickly on sugar, my favorite one. We're back below the 14 zone, so yeah, that's a little bit worrying. But if we climb back above the 14 and stay above it, then yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit more positive. Oil, okay, oil. So we're at a very strong area of resistance. There we go. Look at this. We are near this downside line, which is taken from the highest point of 2022. Yep, there we go. And okay, look, as I talked about commodities, talked about oil here last week, basically. And this, I mean, I think it's still going to be relevant if you watch it. Basically, it's here, the WTI and Brent. What can we expect near term? I think it's still relevant because I talked about the previous weekend. I said, look, be careful, because maybe if the attack happens, maybe maybe they will. Maybe the oil, of course, will push higher. But I think next week is the interesting bit, and next week is the one to watch, because look, either you do the attack during this weekend, if you have all the ships, but the ships, as I understood, the ships are still sailing. This is where, I saw this on Bloomberg this morning. So basically you have your Navy ships, US naval deployments. One is sitting there already. The other one is in the Red Sea, still coming through. And then the third one is coming through. It's going through, still going into before the Suez Canal, so it still needs to go here. So maybe next week they will arrive closer to the end of next week. So And this is when, you could see that explosion and in the oil, and we could see, higher prices because somebody's going to invade another country. Long story short, ladies and gentlemen, this is, like I said, we're going through some interesting times, and oil, for example, right now is, like I said, it's struggling. It has a strong barrier right now. This looks like a bullish flag from the technical side. Is it going to happen this weekend? If not, then certainly we're going into the next weekend. Normally, like I said, it normally happens during the weekends, all these attacks, because it's a market shock, and you need to do it during the weekend. The markets are closed. You need to do some damage control. So you do it on a Saturday, the invasion, the attack. You do it on Saturday. On Sunday, you come out with some statements. Oh my God, they're bad and everything. We had to, we'll support the stock market. So and blah blah blah. So everybody does damage control on Sunday and on Monday as well, because the market on Monday can be crazy. But look. That's why I always say, ladies and gentlemen, wait for the don't wait for the next week. Don't have positions open, during the weekend, because it's just unpredictable. You're incurring costs as well, and just you might be wrong. So you're actually a little bit gambling. Anyway, so long story short, for now, looking at this picture, look, if we do pop above the 66.5 zone, I think that, yeah, it's opening the door to some higher levels, and the next target is the $70 mark, in my opinion. WTI oil, WTI Brent oil is pushing higher as well. And I think that it has still room to the upside to test this downside line, taken from the highest point of April of 2024, actually. So I think it's a good target. You know what's going to be funny? If they're going to deploy all the Navy ships there, and basically they're going to say, oh, you know what, we reached a deal, because just exactly the deployment of the ships helped us reach a deal. And then oil drops lower. The reason why I'm in general, I'm still in favor of lower oil prices. Why? Because I don't believe that the current U.S. administration needs higher oil prices. So it's not good from all the aspects, because on one hand you're trying to bring businesses into the country, so you need cheaper energy. On the other hand, you're also trying to kind of weaken your adversaries, which are heavy their economy really depends on oil exports. So you don't need a higher price for oil. So that's what I'm saying. You ramp up this whole thing, you get everything, get this threat and everything. Oil goes up a little bit more, and then you say, you know what, we're not going to invade, abort mission, and and oil just falls nicely to the downside. Again, an idea. Natural gas. This one is continuing to slide, and I think that more downside could come here. My only thing is that it's forming one of my favorite patterns. First of all, it's a falling wedge pattern here. That's one thing. And the second thing is whenever we have a strong decline, we have a gradual decline, we tend to break to the upside. So at the moment, I am watching this one very carefully, and I'm really interested to see if we can actually go a little bit more to the downside. And what I would love to see actually here is a break through the lower side of the falling wedge, but then a quick reversal back inside. So basically having a nice false breakout, and then maybe a push back to the upside. But hey, yes, I am leaning a little bit more towards the upside on this one, to be honest. But I need a confirmation break. I cannot just go blindly in. I need a confirmation break, and then we'll take it from there. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly into the crypto world, and I'll wrap up this show. Bitcoin, there we go, pushing back up here, ladies and gentlemen. Great, that is great. Bitcoin pushing back up. The only question right now is, can we overcome this barrier? This is the 50%. Of the retracement that I have it on a monthly chart here. There we go. So look at this. We did do our 50% retracement. We're currently here, but we have already retraced, and this is the retracement is here from the lowest point of 2022 to the highest point, the all-time high. Basically, we did almost a 61.8% retracement here, almost. But now we're seeing a little bit of a retracement within a retracement. But keep an eye on the 50% here, which is roughly around the 70,850 zone. Jumping back into the daily, it is a very good target here. It also coincides, it hasn't been a good area of resistance. You can see here yourself. So I'm going to aim for this first, actually. And then I'm going to just be very careful because in general, we need to be very careful with the crypto world right now because maybe this is a little bit of a teaser, to capture more buyers, and then we're going to sell off. Maybe this week we will be capturing all these buyers. We're going to be seeing some higher moves. Everybody will be jumping into the crypto, and then let's say a war breaks out, and we'll see some maybe reversals, unless somehow crypto is going to be seen as a safe haven. But I doubt that. Bitcoin Cash. Now this one is also very interesting. It's also forming one of my favorite patterns here, like a big decline and then a gradual decline. Maybe we'll shoot up a little bit here at some point, maybe like I said, going into this week. Let's see. But if we do fall, sorry, I'm going back a little bit. If we do fall below the 445, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the downside. Ripple very quickly. Ripple is also looking quite positive. Look at this, rebounding from the broken trend line. That's fine. This is something that I keep on mentioning, that whenever we break a trend line, we tend to revisit it from the other side. There we go. Boom. I think that maybe a little bit more upside here could be possible. 1.46, maybe 1.50 area could be interesting. Like I said, gathering more buyers, and then maybe we'll reverse back down. Ethereum, great stuff, looks quite positive. Again, retesting the broken trend line. So I'm going to aim for that 2,168 first, and then I'll take it from there. Ethereum Classic. Now this one, I like this one very much, but I think this might stay like this a little bit stuck in this little range, because again, this 9.15 on the upside somehow is providing good resistance. We're seeing these overshoots, but it just eventually falls back inside. Litecoin pushing higher again. Look, everything looks positive in a way, but look, if we do pop above the 56.64 zone here, or maybe even actually better 57 territory, if we do pop above the 57, I think I'm gonna lean a little bit more towards the upside here, but only up until the 60s here, maybe 61 here near the green line here, which is the 50-day EMA on my daily chart. Dogecoin. Polkadot's next one. Dogecoin looks also something positive, but if you really want to get positive, then I'll wait for a push above the 0.1174. For now, I'm just being very, very careful. Polkadot. Now, this one also is trying to make its way higher. Well, at least it tried to, but this is the barrier that's kind of hurting here, the 1.65.5 zone, and this is near the lowest point of December of last year. So if we overcome that, I will go towards my 100-day EMA, shown as the blue line here, and that's roughly a little bit below the psychological 2 level. But again, I'm not in a rush. I'm just being very careful, very cautious. So for now, let's see if we can clear this 1.65.5 territory. Tron, one of my favorite ones as well. Look, with Tron, I will do this. What I'm watching here on Tron is this upside line, which is kind of, it's a tentative one, don't get me wrong. It's very, it's subjective in a way. Well, actually, everything is subjective. But we're watching this upside line. If we can get a nice clearance of it, I think, yes, it opens the door to some lower levels. The upside scenario is pretty straightforward. A push above this barrier here near the 0.2911 could do the trick for a few more buyers. So keep that in mind. If you're not comfortable with the upside line, I feel you, but what you can do then is keep your eyes on this little area somewhere around the 0.28 zone, and then we'll just take it from there. So yeah, I think this would be even better if we do fall below the 0.28. I think it opens the doors to some lower levels. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. I do thank you for sticking around for an hour and 15 minutes with me. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a lot to cover. It was a busy month. I think that, yeah, we will see more interesting stuff going into March. I think March is going to be another crazy one. February was actually kind of a relatively quiet one in comparison to what we had in 2025. So February was kind of ish okay. We didn't see way too many attacks on Powell, not in the headlines in terms of the whole Iran thing. It kind of calmed down a little bit. Markets were rallying just normally. The only thing is, like I said, this whole stock thing with NVIDIA and Netflix, and that's something that but I think it's that's why it came out at the end of the month, at the end of February, so that it would prepare us for some craziness in March. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found this useful. As always, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I shall see you in the next month, ladies and gentlemen, on Monday. Bye for now.